Hello and welcome to the Events Industry Council's webinar on the CMP certification, Your Path to Event Industry Excellence. My name is Carolyn Patterson-Kemper and I'm the director of the CMP certification program. I am so excited that so many of you are joining us today to learn more about our program. But before we begin, I'd like to know, where is everybody from? So if you can share that in the chat as I go over today's agenda, that would be great. Today, we'll be discussing the step-by-step process of your CMP journey, and you'll learn about the vast community of industry professionals and how the CMP can benefit your professional career. And we'll share information about the new exam, study resources, and how you can prepare for the exam. We've received quite a few pre-submitted questions, and we've reserved time towards the end of the seminar to discuss them. But feel free to add and use the Q&A panel to submit your questions throughout the webinar, and we'll do our best to try to answer them all. We'll also share today's webinar and our contact information afterwards. The Events Industry Council was originally founded in 1949, and we've been established for 75 years. The CMP program was established in 1985, and it was launched to enhance the knowledge and performance of meeting professionals, promote the status and credibility of the meeting profession, and advance uniform standards of practice. And today, the CMP certification is globally recognized as the badge of excellence in our industry. EIC relies on seasoned CMPs to help govern the CMP program to ensure that it depicts an accurate reflection of the meetings industry. The CMP Governance Commission is a standing volunteer committee established to assist EIC, our board of directors, and our staff by providing advice and guidance on the CMP program. And they help to ensure that CMP, the program's policies, are developed and maintained using best practices for industry certifications. We have a few commission members joining us today who I'll introduce during our Q&A session, as they'll help to assist in answering questions you may have. What is the CMP certification? It's the credential that demonstrates your expertise in the field. It denotes that you're the subject matter expert and that you've invested your time, commitment, and resources and mastered the comprehensive knowledge and competence needed in the hospitality profession. And note that the certification is not limited to meeting professionals, but for also suppliers as well. Currently, we have over 13,000 CMPs worldwide, and in addition, there are very specific qualifications to earn your CMP based on a certain number of years of experience, education, and a rigorous exam. But before we get into the specifics necessary to qualify, let's review the benefits of having your CMP. There are many benefits to having your CMP. For one, increased credibility. The certification enhances your professional reputation and recognition within the industry. Career advancement. It can open doors and lead to new career opportunities, higher earning potential, and who wouldn't want a larger salary? And it demonstrates your industry professionalism to potential and current employers. In fact, PCMA's 2024 industry report revealed that professionals holding their CMP earn on average over $10,000 more than their counterparts who do not, as well as up to $18,000 more if the counterpart held a CMP and a digital event strategist certification at the same time. And after going through the entire certification process, it helps you as a professional deepen your understanding of best practices in the industry. We have a quick poll question for you. What is your number one reason for pursuing the CMP certification? And we'll give it about a minute for you to answer. As you answers come in and you submit the poll, I'll give you my reason for pursuing my certification. When I was living in a different city and I was managing my own event management company, I didn't have the bandwidth or time to really take the time to study and pursue my certification. I did take a course at a local university, and it was a certificate program, not the certification, and that's a vast difference. When I relocated back to the Washington, D.C. area, which is where I'm based now, I realized that this environment and this demographic, this area is highly competitive with CMPs or event professionals. And so I really wanted to be on the even playing field. That's why I pursued my CMP. So I'd love to see the results. Okay. Increased industry knowledge is leading. Awesome. And yeah, salary enhancement's important. That would be close to my number one. So thank you for participating. Okay. To be eligible to sit for the CMP exam, your application must include proof of two things, both experience and education within the past 5 years. For experience, you must have either 36 months of full-time experience in the industry, 24 months of full-time experience plus associate's or industry degree, whether it be associates or higher, in hospitality, tourism, and or event management, or a total of 36 months of full-time experience as an instructor in the industry. For education, you must have a minimum of 25 clock hours of continuing education related to the CMP industry standards, which we'll cover next, or an industry internship with a minimum of 200 hours. The CMP International Standards, otherwise known as CMPIS, is actually the body of knowledge that forms the foundation and defines the skills and competency needed for both the CMP program and the exam. The standards were actually updated earlier this year, involving more than 1,000 CMP subject matter experts, and they provided their insights and support to revise the standards. It included the addition of 3 new domains highlighted in the brackets here. And these are the 12 domains areas that the new CMP exam will be based on, which will be available in August. You can see the weight of each domain represented with event design being the largest focus. This is your path to achieving the CMP certification. And the first step begins with creating your account on our website at eventscouncil.org so you can begin tracking your progress throughout your journey. We have specific study resources available on our website to invest in that we encourage you to consider investing in, and we'll share what those resources are towards the end. The next step is you'll want to utilize your EIC portal to track your education and experience. And it's important to note that you must complete and document both education and experience before you're eligible to take the exam. When we review applications, we review the description of your job duties and your resume, which needs to be uploaded to verify your full-time experience. Titles aren't as important as the descriptions. Many of us have done event planning work, but may not have had the title. But again, the descriptions are what's most important. Once you've achieved the required experience and education, you'll want to submit your CMP application through your portal. And approval can take up to 6 weeks. You pay your exam fee, you schedule your exam date, and you sit for the exam. And when you pass, recertification is required for every 5 years. When you receive your CMP certificate, you'll note that there's an expiration date on it, which is important to keep track of because it will show your time frame in which you can complete your recertification activities. And it's important to note that date so your certification does not lapse or expire. The Events Industry Council awards clock hours for your participation in activities, including face-to-face conferences and meetings, webinars, both live and on demand, classes or individual sessions. And you're not required to have educational activities in each domain of the 12, but to qualify for continuing education or CE hours, an activity or program must have the subject matter related to one of the 12 domains that I just shared and must be a minimum of 30 minutes long. On your online application, you must list each session or course or activity that you attended, and it's not enough to just provide the title. Specific dates are also required. A date range is not and won't be accepted. Activities that aren't included towards your CE certificates or towards your CE hours would be CMP study groups, CMP prep courses, networking events, product demos, or meal functions without an educational component. Now, all the activities that we've been talking about thus far are those submitted by our EIC preferred providers. You may also self-report continuing education activities. Preparing for the CMP exam will be crucial for your success in passing. So you should be prepared to take the exam and understand what's expected of you and how the exam is composed. Whether you take it at a testing center or online, you want to become familiar with the exam. Having a deep understanding of its structure and components will help you develop a plan of preparation. We recommend that you allow sufficient study time to review the 12 domains and try to identify questions that could be asked on the test. We suggest that you take notes from your readings or courses that could potentially be used to develop your own practice questions. EIC does offer 2 CMP practice exams, which are one of the best tools used and available to you. These questions are actually questions that appeared on old CMP exams, and they've since been retired. And there are 2 options, 2 practice exams available to you. One is a 20-question exam, all multiple choice, and the other is a 40-question exam. Keep in mind that the 40-question exam includes those questions from the 20-question exam, and they can be purchased on our website. There are no trick questions on the exam, and it's comprised of 165 multiple choice questions. Each question is 4 questions, and there's only one potential correct answer. And you'll have 3.5 hours to complete these questions. Be aware that there are no scheduled breaks for the exam. So if you have to get up, grab some water, or use the restroom, the time will continue to tick. You need what is considered and called a scaled score of at least 55 to pass. But this doesn't mean that you have to answer 55 questions correctly. The exam is scaled, meaning some questions may be more difficult than others, and depending on the domain of those questions will depend on how the final score will impact your final grade. The score is subject to change for the new exam. Now, when you pass, whether you pass or fail, you'll be informed immediately. If you pass, you won't get a numerical score. You will just get a notification that you passed. But if you fail the exam, your results will also include your scale score and will identify the domain areas that will require additional study. We have another poll question. Given what you just reviewed, what we just reviewed with the two domains, which two domains from the CMP International Standards speak to you most in your career? And we'll give you a minute or two to answer that. And so with the addition of the three domains, that's with technology leading as well as the evaluation process, you'll actually receive a breakdown of what each of these domains mean. So in this particular webinar, we'll be sharing it out, and there'll be specific links available to the CMP International Standards. Okay, so are we ready to share the results? Okay, let's see. What carries project management? Okay, that's interesting. That is interesting. With a close second to event design. Yeah, that's a huge one. So that is going to be key to really drilling down into what that means. And again, these domains have been updated since the last test, which is, I believe, was 5 or 6 years ago. Okay. The following are recommended study resources for the CMP exam. We just spoke about the CMP International Standards, which will elaborate on what the 12 domains mean. The 9th edition of the EIC manual. The 10th edition is currently being written as we speak and will be available later this year. The EIC Event Risk Management Guidebook 2021. The EIC Digital and Hybrid Events Guidebook, and the Sustainable Events Professional Certificate Guidebook. These are just recommended resources that are currently available through our website. Now, we often get questions on how and where you can earn your CE credits. There are many resources available to you. Some cost, others don't. EIC offers several options so you can obtain your CE credits. You can take the online Sustainable Event Professional Certificate, otherwise known as SCPC program, designed for individuals interested in accelerating sustainability and social impact within their organizations and events. And completing this program will earn you up to 12 credits towards your certification or recertification. Secondly, several of our EIC members offer educational sessions, webinars, conferences, and events that you can earn credits, like the recent WEC or EduCon, Convening Leaders, or IMEX. And thirdly, EIC offers what's called advanced collections, which are carefully curated collections over 5 practice areas. And you can earn up to 25 credits towards your initial certification or recertification by accessing these collections. It's important to note here that the email address you use to register for all of these courses or your webinars or whatever it is you choose to take towards earning your CE credits matches the email address that you have in your portal so that you can get proper credit. We are currently in the blackout period with no testing occurring through the end of July. For anyone who took the beta exam, results will be delivered as early as later this month or first week in August. We're still working that detail out. But testing will resume in August with the updated CMP exam, which will reflect the updated CMP International Standards. Later this year and early next year, The new study materials that we shared earlier will also be available. And EIC, the last bullet here is that EIC plans and hosts an event every other year called CMP Advance, which offers 2 powerful days of networking and education, and it's only open to current CMPs. So only CMPs are invited. So let it be a timeline for your studies if you would like to attend. Let it be your incentive. This is my contact information. Our customer service team is available for you if you have any questions about your application, CEs, or your EIC portal account in general. But please feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn or email us if you have other questions that we may not be able to address during this discussion. I also encourage you to follow our social media pages to stay abreast of EIC news, updates, and trends, as well as the CMP Advance. But I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar with us. And at this time, I'd like to introduce our commission members who are joining us today as we prepare to answer your questions. We have Inga Stephenson, Sequoia Holmes, Molly Johnson, and Tracy Bear. I'm not sure if Tracy's on with us. Hi, ladies. How are we doing? Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to go ahead and get right into these questions. We will address some of the questions that come in, and as well as some pre-submitted questions. So we'll go ahead and start with one question that we received, and we thank you for the person that submitted it. And I'm going to ask Inga to address this. So the question is, as a planning member from the venue side, hotel or conference center, how can earning my CMP help me? So Inga, would you like to address that?
Sure. Good morning, everybody, and actually congratulations. You have made one big, huge step towards you earning your CMP. You're attending the webinar and you are interested in it and you're submitting awesome questions. Just about a little about myself. I am CMP since 2010, and my third recertification is coming up this year. So by doing this, I'm also actually earning my credits towards recertification, volunteering, and working with the committees. And yes, most of my life, close to 20 years, I have been on the venue side. A little bit before that, I was on the planning side, and I do know how your clients and planners think. She works for the hotel. She's a supplier. So what does she know about what we do? Well, so earning my CMP actually was a big step for me to get more credibility. I do know where my clients and my planners are coming from. I do understand what you're going through. I do understand what your processes are. And actually studying for the exam was a great resource for me to organize all my knowledge base. It was all scattered here and there to understand that association planner thinks a little bit differently than a corporate planner. A person who works with fundraisers thinks a little bit differently than the person who puts up trade shows. So it just helps you to serve your customers better. After I passed my exam and after I studied extensively for the exam, studying, I actually went back to my venue and I walked around with different eyes and I looked around and reevaluated the resources we had so that they could best match all different types of customers that we are servicing. So on the venue side, credibility, using your resources efficiently and effectively, and of course, just having that CMP behind your name just starts a different communication with the planner. We speak the same language. We are on the same page. So that is super helpful. And I hope I did answer your question. If there is any follow-up questions, please type them up.
Thanks so much, Inga. And we have another pre-submitted question would like to address by Molly. How long does the CMP certification process take to complete?
Well, assuming that you've met all the qualifications and you are getting started in the study process, I would give yourself a minimum of 4 months to study. That will give you time to read the material, the manual, all the accompanying material that goes with it, and also time to join a study group. Most study groups last anywhere from 8 to 12 weeks, so that'll give you time to get joined. And study groups are really key to your success because it allows you to bounce material off of other people that have hands-on experience. If you're a supplier like myself, it was helpful for me to talk to planners that were in the trenches and experiencing the things that I was reading about. So having that firsthand experience is really important. It's also really important to carve out time every day. If it's not fresh in your mind, you're going to forget. So reading every day. I personally gave myself an hour a day and then multiple hours on the weekends, but just carving out that time for studying. Some people like to create flashcards, but I really can't stress enough, taking those practice exam questions that are on the EIC website will help you to understand what areas that you need to spend more time on. But I'd say 4 months is sufficient time.
Thanks, Molly. That's exactly what I would suggest. I think that's how long I allocated for and towards when I studied. We do have another question. Let's see. When applying for the exam, how do you ensure your correct years show up? So when you create your account within the EIC portal, the credits and your experience will automatically populate. So once you enter, if you have credits that preferred providers have uploaded, it will automatically, and that you've attended their session, you will automatically receive credit once their sessions have been approved. So the system will automatically calculate for you. So that's why it's important as the first step to create that portal in your account so you can keep up and track all of your progress, education, and experience. Believe we have a few questions in the chat. All right. We have another question. Who is the CMP certification impressive to? Is this more for the hospitality industry? And let's see, who can I call on for that? I think Inga somewhat addressed that question, I would think. So, did you have any
I
other comments to add?
Yes, I can actually elaborate. And I think the experience here showed very vividly, especially in 2020, when a lot of hospitality people had to pivot since nothing was happening in the hospitality. We were either furloughed or let go or laid off. And I think the CMP is really close to your project management certificate. It just shows and it proves that you have credibility in the industry, but a lot of these skills that you learn as a CMP, they can be applied in many other areas in the world. I was lucky enough to stay in a hospitality. However, I have also pivoted and now I'm not staying at one hotel. I am a consultant working for multiple places through the agency, and CMP really helps me to have that credibility when jumping into different venue and for the different venue to hire me. Well, she knows her stuff. That's pretty much what those CMP letters mean. She knows her stuff.
Right.
That's how I call it. And many people have pivoted to the healthcare. They have pivoted to the other project management courses as administrative associates, which is a very highly elevated position right now and really up and coming. And business managers, office managers, all those skills can actually be applied in many other different areas. And it is our job and our commission and our committee led by Carolyn to bring it to the world, that more people know about it and more industries actually value our certification. So anybody who will get the CMP certificate, it will be a holy duty to bring it to the world. So working on it.
Thank you, Inga. We do have another question. How do you keep yourself organized while preparing for the exam when working on multiple events? Sequoia, would you like to address that?
Absolutely. So I use the same planning skills that I rely on for my events. Just to give a little bit of background about myself, I am completing my 10th year with my certification. I've already submitted for my recertification in that process. But going back to my answer, it's the same process that I use in organizing the events. So I work backwards with a timeline for the CMP. For example, I would work backwards from the timeline of the anticipated exam and then scheduling in those weekly study blocks. I was a part of a study group way back when, and then sticking to a checklist to keep myself organized around the domains or topics. I also really worked on sort of flash testing for myself. So the areas that I was the strongest in, I would add that sort of at the bottom of my planning or study cycle. And then for the areas that I needed more work in, that was the place that I was intentional about spending more focus. You kind of have heard the concept of eat the elephant first. So starting with those bigger areas was something that helped. And then just sort of stayed in a pace. There are times where you'll have more energy or just more time in your schedule to really dedicate it. But if you keep yourself on a standard block or a timeline, it'll work to not get you overwhelmed in that studying process, but you are pacing yourself. So hopefully that answers. Oh, the last thing is using a digital calendar. So that really helped me to visually be organized. But it was something that, as I mentioned, I do in my meeting planning side of the house.
Thanks, Sequoia. Yeah, staying organized is key. Just getting a rhythm to balance your life, your work, your job, and studying is just going to be critical to your success. We do have a few questions about where do you find study groups? I think that's a great question. I'll take that one. When you look at the study resources, once you receive this webinar, which you'll receive in a PDF afterwards, you'll see where it says EIC members study information. And there you'll be connected to those partners, and some of those partners offer study groups. For example, I know for a fact that MPI for PCM and PCMA offers study groups. I would encourage you to visit their websites, mpi.org, pcma.org, and look up your city to see if the local chapter can offer study groups. I do know that. There are also study groups online, but the links provided should connect you there. How has having a CMP certification opened up your career opportunities and affected your growth in the industry and earning power? Great question. I don't know if any of my CMP governance colleagues would like to answer that. If not, I'm happy to.
I'll chime in. I earned my CMP back in 2008 when the market crashed. And as a supplier, I had talked to planners and asked them, should I get my CMP? And they said, well, if we're looking at 3 properties, they're all basically the same, but you're a CMP and the other salespeople aren't, we're going to go with you. I said, okay, that's the route I'm going to go. And honestly, having my CMP has given me credibility. It has connected me to clients that I wouldn't have known previously. Attending the CMP Advance, I've met so many people over the years at CMP Advance. So it's just, there's so many layers to it. And it's almost hard to put a dollar value on it. But yes, it has helped me advance in my career.
Would anyone else like to add to that? If not, we will Okay. I love that, Molly. I appreciate you sharing because, like you said, it's hard. You can't really put a dollar value on the benefits of your CMP, but I do know that when I earned mine, it definitely um, allowed me to be seen, if you will, to and from and by employers who may not have considered hiring me otherwise if I did not have my CMP. That was in addition to having a degree, that was a basic requirement, having my CMP certification and a degree. I mean, that seemed to be the minimum. Not to say that's required everywhere, but just the jobs I was going for is what they asked of me. So it just really made me competitive. And that was, again, my reason for going for it. And plus, just like it said, I saw where my income increased when I did earn my CMP. So that is a real statistic. Okay. All right. So we'll have time for a few more questions. Um, okay. Uh, we have one. Let's see. Let me go back here. Um, what is your favorite piece of advice to give those starting their CMP journey? Sequoia, would you mind answering that?
Absolutely. I would recommend that you treat this like a marathon, and not a sprint in that space. So, as you are considering this, this is a great first point or first starting point. But study in small, manageable chunks, start early in the process. I think that will allow you to ease into that element. And then the marathon is that you, through your recertification process, through the other pieces that our colleagues have shared today, you'll have continuing education. So you're always learning and growing. We at the commission level, we are looking at maintaining relevancy. We know that the industry changes, has changed, will continue to change. And that in the spaces that you will engage in your career, you will need to have those opportunities for learning and relearning. So slow and steady wins the race here. I know there's a lot of emphasis on the test. I remember when I took my exam, I think we were the first year that you got the notifications immediately. And that was something, when I passed, I emailed my director and I said, I passed. And she was so excited because she had to wait for weeks to find out her results. But I say that to say that this process will evolve, the learning will evolve, and just stay with it. The amount of knowledge that you'll gain through moments of learning, but also moments of networking and engaging in the industry are invaluable.
Thanks, Sequoia. And we've got time for one or two more questions. Are the old or existing domains being updated in the new materials as well, or will those stay the same and it's just the new domains being added? Great question. So to answer that question, the existing information is being updated slightly. So the current study materials, like the ninth edition of the manual, is still relevant to the new test. The three additional domains will be in the new study materials. So I hope that answers your question. Okay, and we have time for one more. Okay. How can we add events like MPI's WEC? It does not populate in the preferred provider continuing education section. And it could be that uh, session still has to be reviewed and approved by EIC. So if you attended it, the CMP, the session says it earned CMP credits. It's a matter of it's a process that we go through internally to review each session, especially if it was a multi-day, multi-session event. There's a period of time that is needed to review each session for approval. So you also can self-report, and then it would automatically populate as well. But if you know for a fact, like for MPI WEC, you've attended those sessions, it will populate once approved. Okay, well, that concludes our webinar on your CMP journey. I hope it was useful time spent with us. I again thank all of you all for your participation, and our CMP Governance Commission members that were took time out of their busy schedule to join us today and assist with educating us and answering your questions. And keep in mind, we do still are here for you for those questions that we weren't able to get to. We'll share this PowerPoint out as well as upload the actual webinar live on our YouTube page. So thanks again for your participation, and you have a great day.